Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking through a couple player props I like on Prizepicks for tonight's Monday Night Football games for Week 3. We do have another doubleheader this Monday night, so we have two games, Eagles and Bucks, and then we have Bengals and Rams playing. So it's a two-game slate, and I got two props to give you guys. I do have a play that I like from each game, so we're going to talk through these two plays. We're going to share why I like them. Before we do get started breaking down the plays, as always, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, if they help you out, make sure you hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet, and if you guys are new to Prizepicks, be sure to check them out, sign up, use that promo code NOAH. When you do sign up, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code. But yeah, guys, we got two games, and I got two props to give you guys. We're going to start off with the Eagles and Bucks game. Look at that one first, and we got a fantasy score prop that I'm liking in that game. We're going to take a look at Mike Evans' 12.5 fantasy score, and I like the over here for Mike Evans, so more than 12.5 fantasy score. Now, Mike Evans so far through the first two games this season has looked really good, and he's had a really good connection with Baker Mayfield. Week 1 against Minnesota, we saw Mike Evans put up 18.6 fantasy points in that game, and then last week against Chicago, 29.1 fantasy points for Mike Evans. His usage so far has been really good. He's been leading the team in targets, had 10 targets week 1, 8 targets last week, 6 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown, and then he had 6 catches for 171 yards and a touchdown in that game against Chicago. It seems like Evans is kind of the number one guy for Baker Mayfield, at least right now. Maybe things change as the season progresses, but Mayfield's been targeting Evans the most, and we know that Evans is a guy that offers a ton of upside. He's a big body. He's a guy that can target a lot in the red zone. He's already caught a touchdown in both their games this season. Not saying we should expect him to score a touchdown every week, but touchdown's always on the table for Mike Evans. And when you're taking someone over fantasy score, I mean, you want touchdowns because touchdowns are huge. They're worth 6 fantasy points each. And for those of you that are new to Prizepicks, or maybe you've never done fantasy score props before, you can actually just click scoring chart right here, and it'll show you the full scoring chart. It'll show you how the fantasy score is calculated. If you've ever played in a fantasy football league, Prizepicks uses the fantasy score system that every fantasy football league uses. And it is a full PPR on Prizepicks, so you do get 1 full point per reception, which is obviously great. If a guy catches 6-7 balls, well, that's 6-7 points right there, not even counting what you get from yardage and potentially for touchdowns. I don't think we need Mike Evans to score a touchdown to go over this line, but obviously it would be great if he did. But I could definitely see Evans having like 6 catches for 65 yards, and that would be 12.5 fantasy points right there. But obviously with his ability to be targeted in the red zone, there's always a chance he can score a touchdown. And when you're taking again fantasy score, you want that touchdown equity. And with how Baker Mayfield's been targeting Evans here, I mean, it's kind of surprising to see Evans and Godwin not be projected similarly. Evans actually be projected less than Godwin. Godwin obviously hasn't had the same connection with Baker Mayfield as Evans had. So it was kind of surprising to see Evans actually be projected lower than Godwin. I thought these guys would be projected pretty similarly, especially with Evans' touchdown equity. He definitely has better touchdown odds than Godwin does. If you take a look at DK Sportsbook right now, Evans plus 150 to score a touchdown, whereas Godwin is plus 225. I know Godwin is kind of he's more of a PPR friendly receiver. He's a guy that runs a lot of low A-dot routes, so he usually is able to get more receptions than Evans. But Evans offers that big play upside. He can catch those long balls. He can get those 40, 50-yard passes thrown to him, whereas Godwin doesn't really get that. So I think Evans just offers big play upside, touchdown equity, and 12.5 fantasy points is a line that I definitely think is a little bit too low here. And if you do fantasy score projections on Prizepicks, if you do plays with fantasy score, I think it's smart to actually take a look at like other sites. I don't know if any of you guys like subscribe to fantasy sites like maybe like a Roto Grinders or like Fantasy Labs, these sites that do like projections and stuff. But you can actually compare projections kind of around the industry to Prizepicks projections and kind of make decisions that way. And I do subscribe to fantasy projections, and the projections that I do look at actually have Mike Evans projected for close to 15 fantasy points. They have him projected for 14.7 fantasy points. So given that they have Evans projected almost 3, I would say 2.5 points higher than this line. I mean, this is a line that I think is definitely a little bit too low here, 12.5. I think this is also a game that could turn into a shootout if Tampa Bay can put up points here. I do expect the Eagles to put up points. They're a fast-paced, high octane offense. They put up a lot of points every week. If the Bucks can wind up putting up some points here, I could definitely see this game being a shootout. So 12.5 fantasy score for Mike Evans. Give me the over there. as our first play for tonight. And then the other play that I like, we're going to look at the Bengals and Rams game, go to the receiving yard category, and we're going to take a look at Tyler Higbee, 31.5 receiving yards. And I also like the over here for Higbee, so more than 31.5 receiving yards. If we look at their first two games this season, Higbee's first two games, week 1 did go over this line. He had 49 receiving yards in their game against Seattle. But then last week against the 49ers, Higbee only had 12 receiving yards. But you have to kind of look more into it. And if you actually look at the usage last week, Higbee actually got really good volume. He just wasn't really able to come down with his opportunities. He did get 7 targets last week, only had 3 catches for 12 yards. In week 1, he saw just 3 targets, but he did have 3 catches for 49 yards. Higbee has always been a really good receiving tight end, and he's a guy that typically is heavily involved in the passing game for this Rams offense. Especially without Cooper Kupp, we should continue to expect Higbee to be involved. And outside of Puka Nacua, this Rams offense, they don't have a ton of great pass catchers. I mean, Nacua has kind of come on and, come out of the nowhere. He's come out of nowhere and just kind of emerged as like a top receiver. But, Van Jefferson's inconsistent. Tutu Atwell is a guy that has, definitely played well this season and has put up some good numbers. But, I could definitely see a little bit of regression coming for guys like Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua. I mean, especially Nacua. Not saying that, he's going to just suck the rest of the season, but this is not someone that I think we should expect to, put up over 100 receiving yards every game. I mean, Nacua has had 35 targets through their first 2 games. That's just not going to continue to happen. He's not, this is not Devontae Adams we're talking about. This is not, Justin Jefferson. I'm not saying Puka Nacua is like a bad player, but he's definitely performed way, way over expectations. You would have to think there's some regression coming for Nacua, and those 35 targets that he has seen through their first 2 games, you would think that some of those targets eventually are going to start going to other guys. Like Nacua is not going to continue to be targeted 15 times a game. That's just not, it's not possible. I mean, you're going to see more opportunity for some of these other guys. And Higbee has consistently been involved in this Rams offense, dating back to the last few seasons. And I think he's been pretty good in the games without Cooper Kupp as well. I mean, Cooper Kupp being out just opens up so much target opportunity for a lot of these other guys. It's really been Puka Nacua soaking up a lot of those Cooper Kupp targets so far. But I think at some point, especially hopefully over the next few games and hopefully in this game, it'll be Tyler Higbee getting a lot of those targets. I mean, Higbee's role has still been really good. He's been playing a large majority of the snaps like he always does. In week 1, Tyler Higbee played over 90% of the snaps. I pulled up the snaps earlier. I'm going to pull them up real quick just to confirm. But yeah, in week 1, Higbee played 91% of the snaps. Last week, 93% of the snaps. He's going to be out there for almost every single snap. He's going to be out there running routes, and he's a good receiving tight end. If you told me Tyler Higbee's going to get 6, 7 targets here, I would bank on him getting 32 receiving yards on that type of volume. And I think most weeks we should project Higbee for 6 to 7 targets, especially while Cooper Kupp remains out. And I think this is a pretty decent matchup against the Bengals. So far this season, the Bengals have not been, they've been solid defending tight ends, but last season the Bengals were kind of vulnerable against the tight end position. They did allow the 9th most receiving yards to opposing tight ends. And this is a spot on the road where I think we could see the Rams playing from behind. I know last week the Rams against San Fran, the Rams were playing from behind for that game. And we did see Matthew Stafford actually throw the ball 55 times. In their week 1 game against Seattle, he threw the ball 38 times. The Rams have been letting Matthew Stafford drop back and throw a ton. I mean, I don't know, his pass attempts line, it's set at 35.5. If Matthew Stafford is going to be throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game, I mean, Tyler Higbee probably, again, I think he gets 6 to 7 targets. And if that's the case, I think he's got a good chance of getting 32 receiving yards on that type of volume. So give me over 31.5 receiving yards for Tyler Higbee here as our second play for tonight. And these are the 2 plays, guys, that I do like for this Monday Night Football doubleheader. I wanted to give out a play from each game. These are the 2 plays I like the most. But I do want to mention that I am recording this video on Sunday night. And at the time I'm making this video, we don't have any Bengals props up for the Bengals because there's just no, besides Joe Mixon, there are some Joe Mixon props up, but we don't have any of the Bengals receivers up. We don't have stats, or we don't have projections up on Joe Burrow yet. And that's probably just because Joe Burrow is questionable. I assume he's going to play, but there's no confirmation on that yet. So hopefully sometime on Monday, probably early, maybe Monday afternoon, maybe once we officially get word on Burrow, whether or not he's playing, we'll get some Bengals props up. Hopefully, some fantasy score props as well. We don't have any Bengals fantasy score props up. We don't have any Rams fantasy score props up. And I will definitely want to be taking a look at those when those get posted. So if I wind up playing anything else for these Monday Night Football games, I will share that over on Patreon. But I did want to get this entry out for you guys, just for those that are watching this video, for kind of an early entry. And if I do wind up playing anything else, again, I will share that over on Patreon. If you guys want more Prizepicks plays from me, I do provide those over on Patreon. You can check that out, linked down below in the description if you are interested. But if you're going to be tailing me on these 2 plays for Monday night, wish you guys the best of luck. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. As always, appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to Prizepicks, again, be sure to go check out Prizepicks, sign up, use that promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code. But that's all that I got for tonight, guys. Good luck on this Monday night slate. Hopefully we get some good Monday night games tonight. I know last week's Monday night games were pretty bad. Those two, what the Saints-Panthers game was, super low scoring, just ugly, sloppy. And I can't even remember what the other game was. What was it, like Browns and Steelers? I mean, that game was, super low scoring, slow. I mean, those were not very exciting games. So hopefully these games will be a little bit more exciting than last Monday night. But again, guys, appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed. We will see you guys in the next video. Peace.